Have you ever been in a situation where you're about to step up and do something, and all of a sudden you see somebody from across the room, and they're looking at you, and they're giving you this glimpse of hopelessness? And for so many of us, we get ourselves into situations, and there are people who support us, and then there are other people who try to drag us down and just don't have that belief. Whether it's because they don't really believe we can do it, or maybe because they've tried before themselves and they haven't succeeded, and therefore they don't want us to really succeed. In today's episode, I want to talk about different things that we can start to do for ourselves to allow ourselves to step into the roles that we want to step into. And don't let other people's confinement stop us from moving forward and taking the action that we know we can take. We agree that it's going to be difficult. We agree that there are going to be bumps and bruises along the way. But what we have to also recognize is that we have the ability to move forward, and it's on us to be able to make things happen in our lives. Because if we don't, then all that's going to happen is that we're going to be living somebody else's life. For so many people, they wake up so late in life and they're like, oh my gosh, I've been living my parents' dream, or that teacher or that bully in fifth grade's dream who said that I couldn't do something. And therefore, my whole life, I'm trying to prove myself to that person. And then, even if you achieve it, you're successful enough to achieve it, you look back, and most of the time, there's this emptiness in there. There's this feeling of like, I can't believe I was just trying to do this thing. And even if you look at that person and you say, I told you so, I went to law school, I became a lawyer. Here you go, dad, or here you go, mom, for here's my degree. All of a sudden, there's just this sense of failure. And that's one of the biggest failures we can have about ourselves. Because imagine our whole lives, we are chasing something because somebody else has a goal or direction on us. One of the things that, uh, one of the best ways to get your kids to do anything is to tell them not to do something. So it's like, you're not allowed to clean up your room. Like, the reverse psychology literally works all the time until they get old enough when they're like, all right, I'm gonna clean up my room. And you're like, wait a second, that's not how it's supposed to work. And what we have to try to figure out is what's that reverse psychology that other people are doing to us, consciously or subconsciously. Right? They might be doing it on purpose, or most of the time they might not be doing it on purpose. But what we have to realize is that we have this ability, and sometimes we act in a certain way because other people are challenging us, and our egos are at stake. Because it's not really about the thing that needs to get done, but it's about who I am as a person, and that's the problem. So for all of us, what is it we are doing, and why is it we are doing it? And how many times has somebody told you, or maybe even just gave you the look of saying that you can't do anything? That thing that you want to do, that specific goal that you have, is not possible. And what's interesting is that we all have the lives, the goals, we all have the direction and the paths that we want to get on. But the truth is that so many times we get so confused, and that's one of the things I caution about listening to podcasts and following people on YouTube and just following people's personal lives. Because when you start to engage and to listen, and I'm going to tell you this, even though this might hurt this relationship right here that you're listening to, it's you need to be a student of your own life. And that's one of the things Jim Rohn used to always say. He used to say, it's like, go to the seminars, go to the workshops, go to the webinars, learn what you need to learn, read the books, but then decide what it is you want to be doing. For so many people, they end up going in a certain direction because they're inspired by a person who's doing something, and therefore that person is putting their direction on you, and then you have to become like them. And what we have to realize is that we need to decide that for ourselves. And guess what? There's going to be this dissonance, this discomfort that we are going to be going through until we figure out what it is that we want to do. What is our path? And I found myself doing this. I found myself in this direction. I was following people in the coaching space, in the online marketing space, and I was trying to live their life. I was trying to do what they were doing, because I wasn't just inspired by what it is they were doing, but I felt like I needed to recreate the exact same path as they. And what I realized is that no, like, I'm going to have my own unique path. And maybe there's going to be a sprinkle of coaching, and maybe there's going to be a sprinkle of online marketing, and maybe there's going to be some online courses thrown in there, and maybe this and maybe that. But guess what? I have to be the one to come up and to decide those things. And if I'm not deciding it, if they're deciding my life for me, then that's not my life. I'm living their life. And I think so many people nowadays end up getting into certain, hobbies, or to get into certain, things that they are only doing because other people are doing it, and they might be a very attractive person. A lot of the business gurus out there sacrifice so much to become successful at business. And it's awesome. But a lot of those gurus are like obsessed with business themselves. So when you take somebody who might not have a family, or somebody who has a very small family, and then you compare them to somebody who has all these other priorities, who is starting when they're only in their 50s or 60s, and then all of a sudden they want to be able to do what the other person is doing, this influencer is doing, guess what? You can't compare that. It's apples and oranges. And what we need to try to figure out is how is it we are supposed to put ourselves in the situation to give ourselves, and what can we learn from that person? Maybe we can learn their discipline. Maybe we can learn some strategies about what it is they are doing, so that we can start to implement in our own lives. But if we're not going to put it in ourselves, and if we're not going to learn, then we're just trying to mimic and copy that person. And I think those gurus, quote unquote, are going to tell you, don't be me, be you. Here's what I've learned. Take it and take from other people and take from your own life experience and create your path. And for so many people, they're living somebody else's life. What we have to start to realize is that we have to break out of that mold. One of the things you could see on on a Zoom screen, or everybody's digital these days, is you could imagine you see yourself on Zoom and you're in this box. But the thing is, like, your box is so much bigger. Other people don't see what else is going around your square, your rectangle. And what we have to realize is that we have to put ourselves in a position to allow ourselves to succeed at certain things. And by doing that, we're going to be able to do so much more. You are not going to create my rectangle or my square around me. I'm going to create that. I'm going to create the boundaries. I'm going to create the ambition. I'm going to create the success that I want. And that is something that I need to start to control. And it was interesting because I was one time at the Turkey Hill factory. I don't know if anyone's ever been at the Turkey Hill factory. It's within like an hour of my house, so it's like one of those trips we do during the summer with the kids. And I've been there a million times. And one of the things that you get to do is you get to create your own ice cream. There's this one area where everybody goes into the room, and then you can create your own ice cream. And it's really great. It's really fun, and it's great because you're eating your own ice cream, and you get to put in your different flavors and your toppings and all that stuff. And I one time went to the person who was handing out the ice cream. So they give everybody a pint, a cup of a pint of ice cream. And I go to them and I ask them, I'm like, if we finish our ice cream, would I be able to get more? And she like laughed at me. I was like, what's so funny? She's like, nobody finishes their ice cream. And I was like, I love ice cream. Like I'm gonna finish it. And she's like, we'll talk about it if it happens. So then they start the presentation. Everyone's like mixing their stuff in, and everyone's getting their stuff done, and everyone's starting to enjoy it. And you're able to like watch this video about how they make ice cream and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, I finished my ice cream. I was like very assertive. Like I'm like I've eaten more ice cream than this. And I go to the lady. And I'm like, so like I finished my ice cream. Like, well, can I have some more? She's like, only one per customer. And the reason why I'm telling you that story is because this person had this belief about me and assumed that I would do something based on what everybody else was doing. I guess most people don't finish their ice cream, which for me is crazy. Like, how can you not finish even if it's a pint of ice cream? And what we need to start to figure out for ourselves is, what is it we can start to do? How is it we're supposed to put ourselves in a situation to succeed? Because at the end of the day, when people are doing that to us, we have to realize, you know what? We have this ability to make things happen. We have this ability to start to get to things in our own life. And it's going to be on us to change, and it's going to be on us to make the moves, and it's going to be on us to break those boundaries. So the question is, how? How are we supposed to do that? When somebody has this perception of us, and it's not just a perception, it's like this psychic power over us that we feel, and we feel like we have to believe them. Many times it happens with like a teacher in like 5th grade. They might say something to you. They might put a belief on you. Oh, you're an introvert. He's a shy kid. He's a shy boy. He's a good boy, right? I love talking to those kids who have GBD, good boy syndrome, GBS, right? Good boy syndrome. And what we have to realize for ourselves is like, yes, that's a good thing, and that's a good label, perhaps. But guess what? Maybe that's also capping them for certain things. Maybe it's making them more risk averse. Maybe it's not letting them take certain actions that might be a little risky, but may be good for their growth. The reason I'm telling you that, because that's literally me. And what I realize is that just because other people have this perception of me does not mean that I have to live up to it. Doesn't mean that I have to do those things. And what we can start to do is break out of it. And the first question we need to ask ourselves is, why not? Why can't I do that thing? Why can't I become a billionaire if that's the thing you want to be doing? Why can't I be this father who has this amazing, incredible job that he loves doing, as well as this family that I'm actually close with, and all the time for the hobbies that I want to be doing? What is it that I need to be doing to enable that? Right? Who are the people in my life that I want to look up to, that I want to see that, hey, you know what? That's somebody that I want to be like. And by doing that, then we start to give ourselves a chance and asking ourselves, why not? Why can't I do this thing? It's such a powerful question because for so many of us, we don't challenge the beliefs that we have. And we can start to just challenge them just a little bit. It might be scary, but if anything, it's going to make the foundation even stronger. And it might be you might not get answers right away. I remember there was one time I was going through something and I had questions and I was in a certain position where, I shouldn't really, I was an expert in a certain position. And for me, it's like, I can't have those questions because I'm the expert in the position. And what I realized is that if I don't ask these questions, then they're always going to be lingering on me. They're going to slowly pull me away from this. And I'm not going to be able to have the answers for people who need those questions answered. And more importantly, I'm not going to have them for myself. I'm going to need to do that thing. So when we ask ourselves, what is it we are doing? How is it we're going to get ourselves to be able to move forward, to take the action that we want? Ask ourselves, why not? The next thing we want to ask ourselves is who said? And I think this is really important because many times we just have these beliefs. We don't know why we have these beliefs. And honestly, it could be a person, it could be a teacher, it could be a parent, it could be a TV show we one time watched, right? What we have to realize is that we need to ask ourselves, who said that thing? And is that person right or wrong? Do I want to believe that person? Let's say the person's right. Let's say the person said you're an introvert. This person said you're a quiet kid. Do I want that person to be right? No. Okay, so then why do I have to listen to them? Why do I have to do that? I remember there was, as I was growing up, I remember there was, you always had, growing up, you were always told you have to respect for your adults and parents' friends and all that stuff. And it was great. But at a certain age, I remember I was like 18, 19 years old, and I was with certain friends of my parents. And I realized for the first time that like some of them are just really immature. Like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to be respectful, but I don't have any respect for them. And it was like one of these like moments where I was growing up and I was actually seeing the other side of it. I was like, oh my gosh, like you literally are probably acting how you were in high school. And it was so sad for me on the one hand because I was like, these are people that are adults, like they should be even more mature and they should be able to, you know, to be able to act a certain way and control themselves in certain ways. And on the other hand, they weren't. And that reality was really tough for me. And I think for so many of us, we need to ask ourselves, what are the things that we want to be doing? What are the boxes that people are putting around ourselves? What are the beliefs we have because somebody else has that belief on us about us? And therefore I have to start to act and take action based on doing those things that person thought that I need to be doing. So when we ask ourselves, what is it we want to be doing? We can start to learn. Like I said earlier, we need to try to figure out what is it we want to be doing. And I think many times it could be that this might be like the the hardest part about life. It's there's going to be always new doors. There's going to be new opportunities. There's going to be new things that are going to be coming out. There's going to be new technology that is going to be introduced to our lives. And it could be that the thing that you're supposed to be doing is not existed yet, or you might just not know about it yet. I remember when I got into the coaching, I was already in my 30s. It was something that for me, I didn't even know about. I didn't know it was a thing. I wish I had a coach when I was in my 20s. I wish I was able to take certain action, to have that support, to have that mentorship, to have that direction when I was in my 20s. Everybody's just saying, go see a therapist, go speak to somebody. And I did. And guess what? Nothing changed because I'm like, I don't care about what happened in my past. I want to figure out what I have to do moving forward. I want to figure out how I can start to take action. I know there's things that I want to be doing. There's big things I want to be doing. I'm very motivated. I just don't know where to go. And only after I figured out this coaching thing, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And not just that, like, this is literally what I love doing. I love speaking to people. I love brainstorming with people. I love holding people accountable to see them take the action when it's great and even when it's not great, how they're going to bounce back, to be that support for them because I knew I needed that. And that's something that so many people don't realize, that if they can start to take the action and start to figure things out. And I think the biggest thing, and I write this in my book, is that we need to start to take action by moving forward through the decisions that are needed to be made. For so many people, they get so stuck in the indecision. And as Jim Rohn says, indecision is the thief of opportunity. We have the ability to have such an incredible opportunity to step through doors. But because we're not deciding, because we're not taking action, that's the thing that's holding us back. What we need to realize is that if we can start to just move forward, to take on the action, things are going to get so clear for ourselves. They're going to be able to move so much quicker. Because for me, I was taking baby steps when I could have just been taking normal steps or bigger steps. And what we need to ask ourselves is who said, why not? What is it that I want? And by asking ourselves those questions, I'm telling you that is going to be something that's going to could literally change your life. And hopefully you ask them sooner than later, because the later you ask them, you're going to wake up and you're going to wonder, whose life have I been living? And that's not something I don't think anybody really wants. So make sure you get out there, make sure you eat that pint of ice cream, and make sure you do the things that you want to be doing. And don't look back and say, what if?